Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and today we're going to be talking about this next era, this era of Deadly Pursuit, that is coming to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes tomorrow, as it seems. What we're going to talk about is the 4 characters we're getting, 2 ships, 2 characters, the 4 marquee units, and then of course our Conquest unit. We're going to break down how I see these impacting the game and why this era, even though it's not generating a lot of hype, even though it's not something major, it is probably going to be an era that should be well received by the community because we're going to be able to take a break. So, with that said, like, subscribe, comment down below. Let's give a shout out to our channel members, as always, for their continued support. If you guys are ever interested, that link is below, along with a link to our Discord server. Go check it out. Really just appreciate you guys. Keep the faith, believing in me through good, bad, thick, thin. Whatever the hell's going on, you guys are the best. I really appreciate it. You are fantastic. Gentlemen, ladies, and scholars alike, and I can't thank you enough. Let's get in here. Let's talk about this era of Deadly Pursuit and why you can finally start to catch your breath. Alright, so we're going to flip over to the screen capture here. And we're going to move this right there. Alright, so here's the era of Deadly Pursuit. So we have Episode 1 being Rogue One and Rebel B-Wing. 2 ships back to back. After not getting anything since the Punishing one, we're getting 2 ships. We already have the Rogue One kit reveal. It's going to be helping the Profundity basically destroy Executor once and for all. But Leviathan did get buffed, so it did kind of end that. Then we're getting Rebel B-Wing, which again, we'll talk about that in a sec, but a lot of assumptions are that this is going to kind of lift the Home 1 fleet. Then we have 4-LOM and Zuckuss. These are 2 bounty hunters that were shown in Empire Strikes Back. So the question there being maybe some bounty hunters getting lifter units for those squads. And then Conquest unit, the Stranger or Kamir from the Acolyte. So Acolyte content kind of finally making its way into Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. None of us should really be surprised. Now, with that said, I think each of these things is actually reason and a good thing that you're going to be able to kind of take a break. So let's just start with, we're going to start with kind of, Rogue One. We'll go to the B-Wing and then move our way down. So we're going to go back over to the game now. And Rogue One is in game. The marquee event starts tomorrow as the time of recording. So the Rogue One ship is meant to be in reinforcements. The entire ship, if you read the, unique ability here, if the ally is this, da-da-da-da-da, and if Rogue One is in the reinforcement slot. So it basically is telling you, hey, if you're in the reinforcement slot and the capital ship is Empire, all Rebel allies gain breach immunity. So this thing is meant to sit in reinforcements, which, if you think about it, it reminds you a little bit of TIE Interceptor, reminds you a little bit of, say, the Ebon Hawk here, and Plo Koon Starfighter as well, where, and even the Common Pants, right? Zori's ship is another one that falls in this category. They're designed to be the reinforcement. They're not meant to be the first ship. They're not meant to be in that opening, group of ships. And that means that from a relic perspective, from a gear perspective, if you're free to play, you don't feel the need to just bombard these guys with relic 8s and 9s because they're not in the starting lineup. Sometimes this ship may not even leave your reinforcement slots. I would argue it probably will, but the need for high relics and high gear won't be as high on this ship because it's designed to be in those reinforcement slots. And if you remember with Profundity, there's a lot of cases where pre-Punishing one, you didn't even need to bring in ships against Executor to win. It was a very easy win. With this, it will be even easier. So all of that said, you're able to kind of take this break that you don't really need to, relic Bodhi or relic Pow. And even if you do, it's not like they need to go to any crazy lengths because, again, this is going to sit in reinforcement. So that's kind of one reason I'm sitting there like, hey, just take a break. While it's something else to farm, there's no massive gear necessary here. There's no massive need for Zetas because, again, it's sitting in your reinforcements. So it's not going to, getting their Zetas and their mods all sorted out isn't going to make a massive difference because it's not starting out there. The next ship that we're getting is the Rebel B-Wing, which, if you think about adding the Rogue One to the Profundity fleet, it's going to kick out either Ghost Phantom, Biston's U-Wing, or Cassian's U-Wing from reinforcements, or, Biggs. It's going to kick something out of reinforcements. So with that kind of kick out exit from reinforcements, or potentially even just, hey, this is the only reinforcement you need, it's going to open up Home 1, give Home 1 some additional ships to use. My personal feeling here is that B-Wing is probably going to be a starting ship for the Home 1 fleet because it's going to be really good. Now, with that said, when I look at the rebels that are left who do not yet have ships, there's not really anybody that stands out who would be an obvious, B-Wing pilot, right? So part of me wonders if it's going to end up being like the Rebel Y-Wing, where it's a crewless ship and you just have to worry about the ship. There's a part of me that wonders that. Or potentially even, would we get a ship for maybe Captain Drogon? Because B-Wing was kind of shown to us for the first time in Return of the Jedi. Drogon they kind of created to be at that Battle of Endor. So you figure, hey, maybe they put him inside of this B-Wing, and that solves the problem of players won't feel like it's ridiculous to gear him since he's a Leia requirement. A lot of us have him. It, makes life a little bit easier. Again, we're speculating on whether or not he gets a pilot, but I do think that the obvious answer is that it's going to be in the Rebel fleet with Home 1. Which, if I had to draw a comparison to this ship and the importance it's going to have, I think solid ones would be like the Cum and Pants, Zori's ship for the Resistance, or looking at maybe the TIE Echelon for the First Order fleet, and potentially even something like TIE Defender or Scythe for Empire, where it's going to finally allow you to build an extra fleet of rebels, make it where it's semi-competitive with the A-tier fleets like Negotiator and Malevolence, kind of punch up a little bit more, have some defensive viability. So that's also really nice, because even if it does fit into that category, we do have enough ships that exist there that it won't be this, an argument being, I doubt it's going to be this meta-defining, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to beat the Rebels with B-Wing. I just can't envision it being that good. I'm wondering if it will be a really good ship offensively, and that defensively it's still not that much to handle. So again, another kind of reason to take a breather is, even if it does help Home 1, it's not like it's going to be able to compete against an Executor, because it takes a lot to do that. So now we're going to move into the bounty hunters, right? These bounty hunters, we're going to get 4-LOM and we're going to get Zuckuss. Now, these are two characters that appeared, again, in that Empire Strikes Back with Bossk, Dengar, Boba Fett, IG-88, and others. There is a part of me that wonders if they won't get ships. I really hope they don't. I don't want any more Executor ships. So I don't know if they'll get ships. Nothing would surprise me anymore. But to kind of, continue on with this train of thought, the one problem this team has had is, as of late, the bounty hunters have lost a lot of their oomph. They're not a faction that many people feel the need to really invest heavily in. While good, they're just not great. They're definitely in that probably C tier range. Even with like Zam's Omicron now, there's just so many other bounty hunters who have far more useful mechanics than she does, that you kind of have to like force her into the team because of the Omicron, which the Omicron is very good, but it's not like it all of a sudden makes this team capable of killing, something crazy. The Omicron maybe makes it a bit more consistent against maybe a certain A tier team or two, but it's not like it's taken out, super valuable stuff. There's limits to this team, and I'm wondering if 4-LOM and Zuckuss maybe fill the gap in here to make that a better squad for 5v5, and potentially open up some teams for 3v3. The other thing here is, would they potentially get the mercenary tag? Because think about the state of the game right now. With the mercenaries, there's only one leader, and that's Baylan. Baylan is the only leader we have for mercenaries. And while his 4th and 5th slots are kind of open for debate, there's no other character that kind of comes in and says, all right, you didn't go in the Balin team, I'm still going to find a use for you. And part of me wonders if we would get that for 4-LOM and Zuckuss, where maybe they go into the Balin team, or they kind of create their own team, whether that's for 5v5 or 3v3, out of the Mercenaries. I just think the reason I think Mercenary is a good shout is because this kind of reminds me of the Imperial Remnant faction, or even like Unaligned Force users when it first came to be. When we first got Unaligned Force users, you didn't have the Balin team or Ben Solo and Seer Malicos. It was Starkiller and Visas Mar and Mara Jade and Kylo Ren Unmasked and OG Kylo and Asajj, CLS. Like, it was just this random mishmash of characters who had this Unaligned Force user tag that they didn't really act like Unaligned Force users. They didn't really operate like that. We've obviously gotten a lot more work in this space where there's certain characters who very much operate like that Unaligned Force user. And that's come from adding new leaderships, adding new mechanics, and so that's kind of why I'm wondering if Mercenaries will get something similar with 4-LOM and Zuckuss, where they're going to come in, act as mercenaries to sort of help fill some of those gaps on these teams and give us some more roster, depth, width, whatever you want to call it. Now, the final character we're getting is, and I want to flip back over to the screen capture for this, is the Stranger, right? Qimir from the Acolyte, which, I gotta be honest, I'm not looking forward to Acolyte content, as many of you know my thoughts on the Acolyte, but listen, it's coming to the game, I'm gonna be getting this guy. The question is, I think, if we go based off of what we saw on screen, spoilers if you haven't seen the mess that is the Acolyte, but he is a Sith. It's very obvious that he's a Sith. I don't think calling him an Unaligned Force user is accurate. I could be wrong, but I don't think Unaligned Force user makes sense. As much as I want this character, when I was like, oh, what would be great? Like, I'd love this character. If they give him the Unaligned Force user tag, he better be a tank for the Seer Malicos team. I just highly doubt that he's going to be an Unaligned Force user because he does, he's like, he's working with the Sith. Like, he feels like a Sith to me. And so with that said, I'm wondering if he gets a Sith tag. Which some of you would say, well, where would he fit into? And here's kind of my take. When you look at the Sith as we have them right now, there's three kind of obvious teams. You've got Sith Eternal, Malgus, and Traya. Right? You've got the Sith Empire, the Sith Triumvirate, and then I've got Bane and Sith Eternal together. Now, obviously, a lot of players will kind of split them off to try to make two teams out of that. But if you think about trying to get the most out of them, sometimes you do want the two of them together. Then you have the group of Sith who don't really act like it. Darkseid Rey, Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, Dooku, and Sith Trooper. They all have the Sith tag, but they don't really take full advantage of it. They exist in teams that aren't really using them as, Sith. You think Emperor Palpatine uses the Sith tag under Starkiller's umbrella, but he's not really acting as a Sith with other Sith, right? Dooku's going in with Trench, Sith Trooper potentially with Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. They're all kind of fitting into teams where that Sith tag isn't really benefiting them. And even, Lord Vader, while he's a Sith, again, he's not a master, but two, he doesn't utilize it. He's an Empire, he's an Empire GL. And that's what we get with the, characters that we use with him. So that kind of leaves these leftover Sith here. We've got Sidious, Maul, Sith Empire Trooper, and Sith Assassin. And that's kind of where I'm wondering if Qimir, the Stranger, is going to come in and kind of take over a team like this, which is what a lot of us were wondering if Bane would do that. And they kind of thought that's what Bane would do, but I don't think he's done it like this. And I wonder if that's what Qimir will kind of come in, take a team like this, a bunch of these leftover Sith, make them really good into something that's usable, not just for Grand Arena, but also territory battles, territory war, conquest, and just kind of elevate the Sith faction, give us a whole nother team that we can use. That's the end of the video, folks. Again, all of these things kind of saying, okay, well, why can I take breaks, right? And again, you think, all right, I shouldn't have said that's the end of the video. This is kind of, all right, so I explained those characters. Why I say you can take a break is because I don't think any of these characters, Qimir will be the longest wait. Once we get the kit, we'll get a better idea. I'm just assuming he's Sith. But I think with like the bounty hunters, with these ships, none of them are really groundbreaking. Like, groundbreaking in the sense of outside of Rogue One. I don't think any of them are going to, oh my god, this is a new Galactic Legend level team. I don't know how I'm going to beat this. I feel they're all going to be similar to characters like Zori. When Zori came into the Resistance. It's a very good character. It's a very good team, but it had counters that already existed. Or like Snap came in for the General Grievous team. There's still counters that exist. It's a little bit harder, but it's not like it's breaking the meta. That's kind of how I'm seeing Forlom and Zuckuss entering into the fray here. They're going to be good. Having them will give you an advantage over your opponent, but I do not think that they're going to be to this meta groundbreaking state that if you don't have them, it's an automatic loss in your Grand Arena. So I think with that, you're going to be able to kind of step back, take a breather. You don't need to rush into things. If you're someone who's been spending a lot of money lately and you don't want to spend, I think now's a perfect time to kind of recoup that. Get your thoughts together before this next era comes in that potentially leads towards a Galactic Legend, leads toward a Journey Guide unit, and you can set yourself up to either say, hey, you know what, I don't need to be spending, or you know what, Phil, I want to be spending, I want to be a whale. I think now this episode era is the perfect time to do that, and probably leading us into this next major update that CG hinted at about, earlier this year, getting that sometime in Q4 of 2024. So there you have it, guys. That's my take on this coming era. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like, subscribe, comment. I love you all. May the force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.